All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our SIG K8s-Infra meeting. Today is the 5th of June, 2024. My name is Mohammed and I am the host for today. Oops, what happened there? All right. Usually we start with the recurring topics, but because I need to be somewhere in a bit, I would like to have a conversation about the items in open discussion. So, Stefan, I think I see you here. So why don't you go ahead and walk us through the item that's on there about the vSphere CI infrastructure.
Yep. I don't know, Fabrice, if you want to give like the current state on a bit of an overview, or you know a bit more. Otherwise, I can.
Yeah, just a quick. Many of you already know we are for vSphere Image Builder and vSphere CPI. We have an infrastructure which is currently hosted on VMC and which is owned by VMware. What we want to do is to migrate a Google vSphere instance owned by CNCF and managed by this team. And let me say there are two sides of the story. One side is getting funding to CNCF, which will then unblock us. So for this part, our manager are in contact with CNCF. We are at the final stage of internal approval of the budget. So hopefully we will get the infrastructure. So let me say everything in place to create the infrastructure sometime beginning of July, and hopefully get ready with the migration done before the 1st of August. And that's the context that is already shared with some of you. And yeah, I think that today is more about, okay, what happened the day after we get this environment. So the new environment on Google. So today, me, Stefan, Christian, we are already managing the existing environment on VMC. And so, yeah, we are willing to help. Also test infra, continue to manage the environment. And yeah, we already started some thread about how we can help and how we can do stuff in a way that is okay for this group. I don't know, Stefan, if you want to add something on this part.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main thing first. If how exactly we're working together on this, if we can be basically some sort of sub-team or whatever of SIG K8s-Infra for the vSphere part. And then we can dive into some details if we want to. But I was planning to open some sort of umbrella issue for this whole new environment in the next few days to surface basically a few high-level tasks on what we have to figure out and where we are and link a few PRs and that sort of stuff with where we currently are with our exploration, how we could do it, and so that we can discuss if that's the right way to go.
All right, sounds good. So this was the pull request that is currently being drafted. I looked at this and I have some comments and I'll leave on the PR, but one thing I wanted to mention to the group right now is you see this approach here. This is kind of how we want. We need a dedicated state or a group of Terraform code for the vSphere provider. You shouldn't need to depend. It should just be pure vSphere infrastructure in here. So we kind of do need to split this. So sorry, what I meant was this folder here and then this subfolder here. So this will basically provision the network. So we need to create a dedicated network that doesn't overlap with current IP spaces. There is a markdown file in this repository that tracks the IP spaces that are available. We want to make sure they don't conflict because we do need to join all those networks together so that different clusters can access each other if there's a need, instead of rebuilding it in the future. So this top layer will take care of it. We as in the infra leads. Once the funding conversation has been resolved, we'll provision a Google Cloud project, create the network, and the required infrastructure, grant the permissions, and in that project also create a bucket for vSphere State, and then we'll give you permissions. And we will also write the Terraform code to provision VMware, the Google Engine VMware thing, and they have Terraform code for it. So we're just going to run that as well. Once all of that is done, this vSphere layer here that we've got here, folder, just put a README there, and then as you can see here, we've got resource pools, provided TF, and all this other stuff. One problem that you're gonna have is this is not a publicly reachable destination, so it's gonna be a fun one. We need to work out how to run that. But that's a problem for the future. So far, this code looks great. From your perspective, what I would like the VMware staff to do is do most of the work on this folder. Myself, I will sort out this top folder here.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that pretty good matches what we thought about it. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm not sure what this budget is. I don't think we really need the budget because the resource that we're going to create, the private cloud, we know how much it costs every month. I don't think that's going to change. And we're going to create one of it. I think there's a quota for just one. And we're not going to bump the quota, so we should be fine.
Yep, that's okay. I just did see that there was some similar thing for the CapG project. I'm happy to drop that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what might make sense is if I got it right, basically we would move the vSphere folder one level up so that we have them in parallel to each other.
No,
Did I
we would like
understand?
it here because this folder doesn't exist without the presence of this folder, without the presence of this layer.
Oh, so it makes sense to have it nested. Okay.
So
Okay. You were
this
just
folder
talking
is in the
about
right place.
about a split who is doing what. Okay.
Yeah. Even though we're not going to run them concurrently, we know that like this won't exist without the top one
Yeah,
being in.
makes sense. Yep.
We're also mostly talking about like all of these choices here about driving towards where we think best practices are going for everything. But like the super critical part is just that we have infrastructure where the config and setup is documented and public and people can iterate on it as a community, and go back and do archaeology on where did all this come from, and that for operationally the budget side that we have something funded and we have visibility to make sure that we're not like over consuming there. I think like the rest of this is nice to haves. And it would be okay if we iterated more like post deadline. For example, like something that we'll probably add later on is auto deploying all the Terraform, but like we don't necessarily have that today. And we want to like keep that in mind where possible, but like we don't have to block on something like that. Similar with like Boscos. We highly recommend Boscos with like my SIG testing and K8s-Infra hats because it has helped us avoid resource leaks. It's just something that tends to happen with end-to-end testing CI, but like it's not strictly essential for like getting through that August deadline to unblock migrating Frau.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Just a note about the Boscos thing. So where that one is coming from our side is basically today we have like a bit of a strange setup where essentially we run an entire Kubernetes cluster within our current environment, basically to have a resource pool for IP pools. So what we thought is essentially let's get rid of this old legacy stuff, just migrate it over and replace it with Boscos. And what we were planning to do is basically to already move our existing environment with our own Boscos instance internally just over to Boscos, and then it's just exchanging one Boscos for another. So we have less work to do there. versus trying to set up an entire Kubernetes cluster just for that purpose, and we don't really need it.
Yeah, that
So
totally
yeah.
makes sense. I just want to make sure that you know, it seems like the main thing that we're asking about in this meeting is like, oh, how should we set this up and that sort of thing. And the reality is that we actually have, I mean, some of it's bash or whatever. And like, while we would prefer not to introduce more click ops and bash and other tech debt where we don't need to, I think that, like, you know, the most pressing thing is that we just sort out something that will work as soon as we can, so that there's no continuity issues when we go to shut down the default cluster and orchestrate the prod migration. And we'll have, you know, once things are running in any form under you know, community controlled accounts, then we can like collectively iterate to improve any gaps. But absolutely, like, if we have to build new things, then like, I think that Mohammed has already pointed everything and pointed you all in the right direction for everything, and this is looking good.
Yeah, I think the critical path for me is basically, I mean, we have to get the environment, obviously, and the funding situation sorted out. And then the things that we currently have a hard time already figuring out is like, how would we potentially integrate this thing with Okta for authentication, and how would the network stuff work? Because if we don't have an environment, we have no clue how, right? I mean, that's for me like the critical path. The Boscos thing, we just do that in parallel and probably figure it out before we get an environment even.
Okay. So short answer is, let's see, today is early June. While we're waiting for the money piece to be settled, we can provision like the foundational infrastructure, so like the Google Cloud project, the network they're gonna drop this onto, finalize the IP ranges that we need, getting that in place. So the IAM, while you're still writing out your Terraform code for this vSphere folder. I think that will take like a week, because I need to go and fix up this code, and then deploy it. And then once the money things be dealt with, we'll actually then add here basically vmc.tf, right, and then deploy it in real. And then you should be good to go. You'll get endpoints that you can reach. We can also drop in a utility VM that allows you access to that network. And then you can proxy things through it and then iterate on it as often as needed.
That sounds good.
One option that we can consider is that if for some reason the founding take a little bit longer than expected, it is possible to provide a VMware engine instance with only one node, which is free for 60 days. So this could be something that if we need to look into how vSphere, how to integrate, I don't know, vSphere identity management, stuff like that, we can eventually set up an environment, a free environment, and then when we get the budget, I think it is possible to convert to one that with 3 hosts. Otherwise, we throw away it and we recreate it. But yeah, let's consider just this option.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see where we are in the middle of the month. If there's no progress, then I'm more than happy to consider that. Create a single node cluster that's free for 2 months, and then you can hack away at it and work on it.
I would have one additional Boscos question, just in case there are like hard opinions out there. If I see it correctly, on the GCP cluster, the community-owned one, we're basically using Boscos in a way where we are providing credentials and stuff via presets to the prod jobs. And then we use Boscos
Yeah,
mostly
that's
just
right. So what happens is when you lease a Boscos project, so with Google Cloud is very trivial because you can have one principal, which is what the pod is running with, can have access to all the projects that exist in Boscos, so you don't really do too much work. With AWS is a bit trickier, because each entity in Boscos needs its own dedicated credential, so you got to do some credential switching shenanigans. With vSphere, I would assume you would need to load a secret that has the credentials of whatever
Yeah,
it
but
is group
yeah,
that
but
you're leasing.
sorry. Yeah, what we currently think is basically that I mean we are currently have this like for 3 different repositories, image builder, CapV, and copyright vSphere. What we would do is we would create 3 accounts, basically 1 for each. Then give each one of those their own preset with the corresponding username, password, etc. And then essentially give each of those a different Boscos resource type, so they can basically say, "Oh, I want to have like an image builder, CapV project,
Yeah,
whatever."
a single credential would work. And then you basically define 3 resource types, and then put all
Yep.
the resource pools in each one, and then
Yeah,
just lease
exactly.
it, right? And then define and tell Boscos how to clean up vSphere stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I have like 95%
Cool, cool.
working.
I think a single
obviously, and
credential is fine on one user. That's shared across all 3 services.
Yep. We can decide if you want to have like one or maybe 3 of them, but I think that doesn't really make a
One is just convenient. Let's do it that way.
Yeah. I was thinking of maybe having separate ones, just that basically people don't have the permission necessary to create like stuff everywhere. But
okay.
I mean, I'm fine either way.
Okay, if you want to do that, then that's also fine.
Either way is fine, but you should understand that anything that's going to be within the pre-submit clusters, like, you should assume that it could get hacked at any point, and we're keeping an eye on spend to make sure that like people aren't just abusing it. The thing that Boscos enforces is that we avoid leaks, and also makes it a little bit less of an attractive target, because you'd have to, like, as an attacker, if you didn't integrate with Boscos yourself to continue to mark the project or resource busy, then the janitor is going to come along and just nuke everything, and then there's nothing left running. So like that credential becomes less useful because we keep deleting everything.
Yep.
But like there isn't strong isolation, there isn't intended, because like unless we used a ton of different build clusters or something like that and really locked down job config, somebody's CI job from some other random sub project could actually be mounting this
Yeah.
secret, or talking to the Boscos endpoint. It's just there to make sure that that we don't accidentally leak resources because like a CI job got terminated early and then nothing cleans up after it.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll provide some more information on some issue about what I currently have, but I think it fits pretty well with what we roughly like to have here.
All right, sounds good. I don't have any other questions. Sometime next week, I'm gonna go and sort out this K8s-Infra vSphere layer, provision the project, create a state bucket for this layer here, grant permissions, provision the Google Cloud networking that's required, and document IP space, so that it doesn't conflict with the other stuff. We should be good to go.
Oh, while we're
Then we can
talking-
drop in the vSphere, the private cloud later.
Yep. While we're talking about IPs, do we have some limitation on how many IPs we can make reachable from ProJob towards vCenter? So basically, we want to create a bunch of vCenter VMs. They will get IPs, and they should be reachable from ProJobs. And it would be good if we get a bunch of them. I mean, I'm talking like
Yes.
maybe
So
like 20.
So
subject or
that's a
something, not
problem that we have. So right now, with the existing build clusters, we don't have known egress IP addresses because they are using instances that change all the time with public IPs. As part of rebuilding the power control plane, right now the power control plane has its own private network with known, and it also runs with a NAT, so we know the exact IP addresses, both IPv4 and IPv6. On the new power cluster is actually door stack cluster. So yeah, we need to do that work on the existing clusters, but we're gonna do that as part of the main power migration.
We're gonna have to be careful with that, because whenever we start natting things, then we start to look like an excessive user image registries and things. But I'm sure we can come up with something.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah, so right now with the main private cluster, we just don't have specific known egress addresses, which is why it's important that we connect to that cluster's private IP space to this vSphere environment.
Are
Right
we
now,
able
we
to
can.
make
Uh,
these publicly available? I mean, again, you
Oh,
can assume
I-
that like people can run arbitrary code in the Proud cluster on the other end anyhow.
So we need them only
Sorry?
available from our ProudJob pods, and ideally they shouldn't be available publicly.
The problem is the Proud job needs to talk to the vSphere API service, right? Directly.
Both. So the ProudJob has to talk to the vCenter API, but it also has to be able to talk to VMs that we create within vCenter for our tests to work.
Well, that's
I'm
more
just
messy
pointing
than
out
I
that
thought.
like it's going to be of somewhat marginal security because if I'm going after these, I'm just going to go via Proud to begin with. I mean, Proud is remote code execution as a service.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, if you're happy with the vSphere control plane being publicly accessible, then that's fine.
I think like I wouldn't say happy, but like that might not be the first order concern. But we can I think even if we have public, we can probably like see if we can peer it to VPC, or maybe we can have like a separate build cluster or node pool for this, at least temporarily.
We could do that too. Create a small GKE build cluster that goes with it, and run the
Yeah.
jobs on there. It's on the same network, private IP space.
I mean,
Straightforward.
we could even put a build cluster in the same GCP project.
Yeah.
So just to get right, that would basically mean we have our the pods that would use the vSphere environment, they would run on their own Kubernetes cluster within the same GCP project as vCenter.
Yeah, I mean, we have one for we have one on EKS right now and one on GKE, and then we have like the old Google internal ones we're spinning down. So we can add another one. So we could like they're pretty low. They're fairly low overhead for us, especially if it's only going to be running a really limited subset of jobs, because we have to run additional things like setting up Boscos or whatever. But if we're just running some vSphere related jobs, then like we probably need less of that tuning and just the vSphere Boscos and whatever like network connectivity between that cluster and the vSphere.
Yeah. What I just don't know is how it would work budget-wise, because I think, basically asking right now our management for exactly the amount that we need for the VMware engine, and I don't know what happens if there would come another Kubernetes cluster on top. I don't know if that how that would be done or not.
Yeah, a lot. We typically use an auto-scaled cluster, so there's like, I guess I'm not positive. I guess it's on the same account, so there might be like the marginal like control plane fee, and then it's just like some auto-scaled nodes, and it seems like the workloads would be pretty small. Because it's like the test pod that's like running the E2E test.
Yep.
But it depends on what you're doing. We'd have to look at the jobs. But like, I mean, we're ultimately the project is paying to run those either way, right? So which GCP project it's in is, we could figure something out. We could put it doesn't, I mean, it also doesn't have to be in the same project, right? Like we can create a cluster for this, but I think if we're getting to the point where we're creating a cluster for this, then we're kind of saying like, well, this isn't going to be used for any other CI, so it probably should try to fit budget wise. But our clusters are pretty low cost because we're enforcing that you're setting requests and limits on all the tasks and they're auto scaling. It's the only reason it'd be expensive is if you're running a ton of resource usage.
Yeah, maybe we can open an issue. We have some stats about how many jobs we run, how many of them use vSphere, how many are only on Proud. We open an issue, we take a look at this one, and we figure it out.
I need to drop off, but I will leave that with Ben, and you can work it out. But yeah, the main reason or the need for that separate cluster is either we have a dedicated build cluster for vSphere and the control plane is fully private, or we have a publicly reachable vSphere instance and hope that no one hacks it. Also, it's a managed product, so it will lag with updates. We can't just patch it whenever we want. Um,
Yeah,
so there's that
maybe
too.
just to add how we protect the vSphere API today, we currently open a VPN connection from the ProPod to the vSphere environment, and from there we can, or through the VPN connection, we can reach the vCenter API, and it's not reachable from the internet. And through the same connection, we also reach out to the VMs we created. Just to add that.
Oh, in that case, we can reuse that, to be honest. That
It
code
could
is
be as simple as tunneling using S shuttle, or to reduce the effort to set it up or something like that.
Yeah, we basically have that. Yeah, that stuff already working. It's just a matter of creating that
right,
VPN
thank you,
VM
everybody.
again
Goodbye.
that we're currently using just in the new info.
I don't think we have any super strong requirements for the tunneling or anything on our end. No, the only thing I'll point out is that if we're talking, you know, the discussion, the kind of side discussion about like natting and privating the proud pods to make it predictable, that I don't think is fully viable for us because since we are testing Kubernetes, we send a ton of traffic to the registries and things, and it's very useful that we have like distinct IPs for those worker nodes. If we change that, then we're going to introduce some headaches to ourselves where suddenly now we're the ones that are using way too much traffic from one IP. And like we probably, I don't think that is worthwhile. Like we don't have this concern elsewhere. So we should, like, out of any of the alternate options, we should probably pick one of those to make this work. So having a build cluster for this, or doing some running, using a tunnel from within the test jobs or something like that.
Yeah, from what I hear, it seems that redoing what we have today with the tunnel is probably the fastest way to start, and then we can eventually iterate.
I do think that we could fit cluster within the budget though, unless we actually are doing tons of really expensive builds. And then that's sort of its own point that we'll have at some point, is figuring out how we keep that sort of thing sustainable. But I mean, we have a good bit of resources to work with. So I think maybe, something to keep in mind, but we don't I don't want to press on that right now versus just sorting out something reasonable for the actual vSphere instance. And I highly trust Mohammed and your team's judgment there to sort out something. And it seems like we have a couple options available.
Yeah, but let's start the issue to discuss, and we will sort it out. Let me say, we have option, as you said.
Looks like Mohammed had to drop as well. We had one other item on the agenda, but I don't see Mo here. So personally, I've just commented on the doc a little bit, and I would encourage people to look at it, but I don't think that we should discuss without the owner here. We don't usually do that. So is there any other follow-up for the vSphere CI? Besides, we'll go open an issue for the
I think we're fine for now. I'll make sure to open the umbrella issue to cover all the relevant points that definitely the ones you talked about, maybe slightly more.
Okay.
And ping your people on it, and we can go from there.
Sounds good. We should probably discuss billing in the call. We usually do that. We usually do that at the beginning, but I think we moved on to make sure that we cover these before Mohammed had to leave. Looking at it now, though, if you look in the SIG K8s-Infra Slack channel, Caleb posts updates regularly, and it doesn't look like we have a particularly notable shift here. So I don't actually have the accounts set up on this machine at the moment to go pull all of the billing pages from the clouds. So I think we'll skip for this meeting, given that you can see the total spend data and SIG K8s-Infra, and there's nothing concerning at the moment, and there hasn't really been any noticeable changes. And unless folks really particularly want to look at something, I can get it pulled up, but it's going to take a little bit, and it doesn't look like there's going to be much to talk about.
I mean, the only topic that we might want to explore in the coming weeks is how we, or if we want to fix that the report basically does not account correctly the reserved instances in Google.
The BigQuery report. We had a discussion about that, and the last comment was that we're just going to switch to using Cloud Console the same way. Like Amazon, we don't have a anything special. We just have the built-in billing page. And it's not public, but we like report on the usage weekly in the Slack and discuss in the meeting. I think we should probably shift to GCP. I don't think it's worth continuing to invest resources in something that only works for GCP. And on GCP, we already have at this point the mature ability to manage IAM linked to Google Groups and add people there. So we can add people to like billing viewer in the console without separately having the Data Studio dashboard. And we haven't been relying too much on like trends there or anything like that. So I don't know. I mean, if someone has the bandwidth and wants to look at fixing that, I wouldn't oppose it. But personally, I don't think that's the like top of mind. I'm more concerned about like coordinating the Proud migration and that sort of thing. We're actually getting pretty close now. We told everyone August, and I think that still makes the most sense because it'll be following 131. And if we miss then we pretty much have to punt until next year. So I think we should probably focus most of our resources there if anybody has free time to help out for now, and we'll just rely on the first party billing reports to get the correct numbers.
That's fine for me. I just wanted to bring it up that we also have it in the meeting.
Yeah,
I'm perfectly fine.
And Caleb just commented that he was switching like last night, so this is very recent that we're fixing the Slack updates.
Hi. Yeah, I had to get some confirmation from folks like Gurian and such about which one to use for more accuracy, and yeah, I'm happy to go with the one that we believe is the most accurate and has the same level as, for instance, using our other cloud that we're reporting for as well.
Yeah, Caleb, I can forward you somewhere. We had a thread where Marco was asking some questions about this, and I uploaded a bunch of screenshots with the different options and kind of explained what they mean. If we reference to confirm like which mode to use. I've spent way too much time looking at that page.
Cool.
Okay, well, if we're with that, then I'm gonna add one quick FYI. If you haven't seen the PSAs in the SIG K8s-Infra Slack, just short update is basically in the past we announced the K8s GCRIO redirect to registry K8s.io to shift the traffic to being totally community controlled faster as users weren't really switching. We did that in the past, but it was like a series of waves of targeted redirects to try to capture the expensive traffic and move it to being run more efficiently while avoiding causing the sort of outage that may with like a Google customer that then causes us to have to roll back because all they see is that a Google service has changed and they have an outage and now PMs are like we're rolling it back. We are now working on redirecting the rest of the traffic, and that will be ongoing over June into July a little bit as we slowly roll some more waves of redirection updates for the remaining traffic. And we expect that going into sometime in July, we'll have all the traffic shifted, barring something unexpected. And the first wave of that is already going out. So we should actually have a small efficiency improvement in hosting the container images. And we're prepared in that respect for when GCR goes away next year. We will specially have the Kubernetes, the case GCRIO stay available as just like a tombstone redirect to registry K8s.io. We still have to get ahead of moving the staging registries. But in most cases, that's not very pressing because that's only used for at build time, and then they're promoted to the production registry, and end users are pulling from the production registry. And our production registry is already based on artifact registry and other backends that are not impacted, like S3. So just quick update on that. There's a lot more details in the Slack, and I'll be continuing to post updates in the Slack when there's anything to note there, or if any issues crop up or anything like that. But I expect that we will have all the traffic redirected soon completely. And we'll probably see some more user issues from some more edge cases where people doesn't work in their restricted network or something like that. But we've long since warned people that this sort of thing was coming from the project, and we're just finishing executing on it, hopefully.
One question to this, and this is now with me speaking as comms. Do you need, should we put out any more communications? I mean, especially since we now have the Kubernetes.io Twitter account.
Yeah,
or...
there's a thread in the Slack with the contributor comms team CC'd.
Yeah, I saw this. So basically, okay, then that I will take this either to the meeting on Friday, that we can talk about this, or I will bring it up in the comms meeting on Friday.
My one ask is that we don't talk about timelines. We just remind people that we're everything is expected to be redirected, and urge them to switch and point them to our docs. Because we also people should avoid depending on it. What we're aiming for here is to get a full redirect in place and keep it up to help minimize impact to everyone, and to get users moved over and keep things available. But there's no guarantees here, and it's better for everyone if users proactively switch. And
yeah, that's actually what I wanted to basically pull out, that we just do like a reminder post on LinkedIn, on Kubernetes Twitter, and on the contrib Twitter. So basically all of the end user and normal facing user channels. That's, hey, FYI, we told you already last year, but here's a reminder.
yeah, I think we should basically frame it as we're reminding you that you should switch, that this endpoint is deprecated, and that you should use the current one, and that we have tooling to help identify those in your clusters and help you mirror it, and so on. And I dropped some pointers to that stuff in the contributor comms thread in Slack. I think that we didn't move forward on anything yet because they've been busy with the 10th birthday stuff. But yeah, I totally agree. We should get a reminder out, and we are having those conversations.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So we have our weekly on Friday, and I will bring it up there, and then we can basically start posting it in a regular way, on a regular base.
Thank you. So we have 15 minutes left in the slot. If anybody has any last minute questions or topics, we can discuss briefly, or otherwise we'll see you all next time.
Have a nice Kubernetes 10-year anniversary tomorrow.
Thank you. Happy
Yay.
Chinese to all of you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
I'm heading to one in about 2 hours. So it's gonna be nice. Thank you for mentioning that.
I got one this evening. Very excited. Thanks, everyone.
Maybe here in the Bay Area. Thanks all. Happy
Thanks,
Kubernetes.
everyone.
Bye. Happy
Take care.
Kubernetes. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.